Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 update 1.44. It's time for my first car review of the brand new update to GT7, and we're going to start off with the legend itself, the Toyota GT1 or TS020. In this review, we're going to dive into some of the history and facts about this race car, and we'll also talk about it in the context of Gran Turismo 7. However, as always with these car reviews, we'll start off with the price point. And no, it's not 45 million like that rubbish Photoshop edit, it's actually 2.5 million credits, which actually makes it the cheapest of the legendary Group 2 cars. I'm not sure if it's going to stay this price point forever, however it is also the outright best in terms of its power. 844.84 pp, 3600cc MR drivetrain, 764 brake horsepower, weighing 900 kilograms and turbocharged. So overall, very good stats for a Group 2 car, if not the highlight of the entire category now. Now before we get into the review and the history of the car, I do want to talk about the grouping itself. So this car fell into Group 2, along the lines of the CLK, the McLaren Longtail and such. It pretty much does fall in the correct category, and I believe that personally it should have fell in that category. However, I can see why a lot of people did want it to be Group 1, but if we think about it, this car really would have been nowhere in Group 1. It doesn't feature the downforce of the Group C machinery, it can't really keep up with those either, it can't keep up with the LMP machinery either, although it does have the kind of top speed that has an advantage over them. Overall, I feel like Group 2 is the correct choice for this car. However, I feel like it really does show flaws in the whole grouping system, and that it really needs to be kind of scaled down and put into more miniature groups to get the cars running correctly in the correct grouping. So for me, this car should be sat in there with the CLK and the McLaren Longtail, and then the likes of the Group C should be their own category, LMP should be their own category and such like that, and the Super GTs should be their own category. For me, these Group 3, Group 2, Group 1 category groupings just doesn't quite work, and for me the Toyota GT1 really shows the flaws in that system. However, let's move on to the history of the car. So the end of the Group C era saw Toyota shift more towards the GT class of racing for Le Mans. So in 1995 they turned up with a Supra which performed okay. In 1996 they had the MC8R, which was based on a very heavily modified version of a Toyota MR2. Pretty much didn't resemble it in the end, it was just that ridiculous. Now from that point they kind of got the idea of, do you know what, we're not going to go for the kind of road car turned into race car, we're going to go for a full-blown race car first kind of vibe. So they skipped 1997 and basically completely changed the philosophy for 1998, which was when this car was first introduced. Now it's a bit of a strange one because it was actually classified differently in both 1998. So let's talk about the 98 season to begin with. So it was first introduced at Le Mans. It ended up qualifying 2nd, 7th and 8th. The number 28 during the race ended up with a high-speed crash, the number 29 ended up with a gearbox failure, and the number 27 ended up quite a fair bit down in 9th, 25 laps back from the leading Porsche. So on paper, 1998 really wasn't that successful for the Toyota GT1. Obviously it ran in the GT1 category. Now in terms of the car itself though, the philosophy and the design philosophy behind it was really pretty much there. Obviously they took inspiration from the MC8R and decided to basically build this full-blown race car. Not only did it really look the part, it had that striking livery in 1998, it pretty much did what it was expected to do. It was an extremely fast car, mainly hampered by the likes of reliability issues. So overall, the whole design philosophy really was working in 1998, even if it wasn't that successful. So 1999 comes around, and this is where it gets a little bit weird with the Toyota GT1. So in 1998 it was classified as a GT1 car. Now from 1999 a bunch of regulation changes means that this car then became an LMGTP car. Now unlike the CLK, which it was racing against at the time, which would turn into the CLR, the GT1 really didn't need that many changes. As you can see from its very extreme design, even as a GT1 car, this was a very in-your-face and more LMP-like machine. So that transfer from 98 to 99, it really didn't need much in terms of overall changes to make it work for the new regulations. So how did the car get on in 1999? It was extremely fast. There is no denying that. This was perhaps the quickest car during 1999 Le Mans. In terms of the overall results though, it really doesn't look too good on paper for this car. So the number one car ended up with a massive tyre blowout, and because of how the wheel wells and such like that work on this car, it can cause catastrophic damage to the vehicle, and that is pretty much what happened. The exact same with the number two as well. Once again suffered a massive tyre blowout and had to retire. The number three, once again, whilst it was chasing down for the lead and chasing down that very famous BMW V12, it would end up with a blown tyre, would have to pit, and basically lost its chance on an overall race victory. However, in terms of the overall positions, it did end up second, and it did end up first in the LMGTP category. However, it was the only car in that entire category to actually take the checkered flag. Overall, the car was very, very quick. There was no denying that. It really did have the performance to really maybe go on to win that race, but the likes of fuel consumption meant it was really on a back foot where it would kind of make up for it in speed. Endurance racing isn't just about speed, as the 787B proved many, many years prior, that you didn't necessarily have to be the outright quickest, and reliability and fuel consumption will definitely come into play. Unfortunately, the Toyota absolutely drank fuel compared to other vehicles in the race, and that really did hamper it, as well as obviously the glaring issue that if it suffered a tyre blowout, it could pretty much wipe it away. Now, in terms of the cars in Gran Turismo, from GT2 and GT3, we actually saw the number one, which was the car that ran in the 99 Le Mans, and Fuji. From GT4 onwards, we've started to see the number 3, which is chassis LMA04, which was previously the number 28 at the 1998 Le Mans. In terms of Gran Turismo 7, the car honestly is absolutely fantastic. There's no denying that. It has that old late 90s driving feel. It can be a little bit sketchy at the rear, but once you get this car under wraps, it's as fantastic as it's ever been. I think a lot of the controversy really comes from the grouping system, but again, that's not really the car's fault. That is more just the grouping system being completely flawed. In terms of its lap time at the Nordschleife this time, it ended up 18th overall. As you can see, it's just a little bit back from the likes of the Group C's, only really managing to beat the Nissan GT-R LM Nismo, which again is a front rear drive LMP machine, as well as the Jaguar XJR9 from 1988, which went with a time of 6:01. It's not too far off some of the Group 1s, but as you can see, there is a bit of a drop in terms of the overall pace. As you can see, the likes of the R92 CP and the Sauber, this car is around about 4 seconds a lap slower. So again, I do think the grouping's pretty much spot on, but again, the overall grouping system itself is just very, very flawed in GT. Overall, is it a good car? Is it as good as we remember it? I would go on to say, well, absolutely. It's fantastic to drive and it's insane fun. And when it comes to the price of the legendary Group 2 cars at 2.5 million, this really is the standout now of Group 2. In my opinion, not only is it visually stunning, it's an absolute legend of Gran Turismo, and it's one that you honestly do not want to miss. Let me know what you think of the Toyota GT1 down below. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.